Welcome, this video is being shot and published on Monday, July 1st, 2024. In these videos, we're talking about the nature of the times, what the heck is going on for all of life on planet Earth. My name is Timothy Halloran. I am an evolutionary astrologer. I'm not selling the information in this video, but I am selling my astrology school. What I speak to is deep diving, soul level astrology. You can learn that from my school at Rasalila Community. Even if you're not intending to become a professional astrologer, taste test, sample the information in my school. Find out for yourself just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Now we'll be speaking to a new moon in her own sign of Cancer coming up on July 5th. And we'll be speaking to what I'm seeing as more of the deep undercurrents, Saturn and Neptune stationing retrograde at the final degrees of Pisces. The Saturn-Neptune stationing is occurring in a trine to this Cancer new moon. So any new moon sets the tone for the month to come. Yes, we have Gemini season, Cancer season, depending on where the sun is every year. But it's really the new moon, whatever sign that new moon takes place in, through the following month. So this new moon is bringing us into a high Cancer period. Emotional, really bringing us into digesting, reflection on the past, and creating space to safely honor our own story and past digestion. This new moon is falling on the north node of Jupiter. That's some of the evolutionary astrology that gives us indication of why the entire world is why it is. How the species has evolved over many centuries and thousands of years of time, evolving in different directions at different points in time. So this new moon on Jupiter's north node is saying this new moon, the intentions we're putting into it, and the month that will unfold from it can carry this most missing and needed Jupiter wisdom that the collective is lacking. See, the south nodes for Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter for all souls on the planet at this time are in the sign of Capricorn. That indicates humanity's evolution in the past as a species has been Capricorn. Dog eat dog, fight to survive. Achievement, success, proving your worth on the outside at the cost and detriment of the opposite zodiac sign of Cancer, which is emotional intelligence. Cancer is the most missing and needed medicine on the planet. At this time, we are learning how to hold space for our own emotional process. We are learning how to hold space for the world's healing process when we're going to be detecting, seeing, experiencing, in many cases, a collective tragedy coming from the past. Evolutionary astrologers are certainly not unfamiliar with the notion of reincarnation. It's typically accepted across the board in our work. And what we understand is that we're crawling out of a dark age, despite our technological advances going into the age of Aquarius. Therefore, I observe most souls are spinning out of their bodies and disassociated because they have not yet begun to heal their past life, some scars, their past life traumas. That is why Saturn station at 19 degrees Pisces a couple days ago, Neptune station at the last moments of Pisces, tomorrow, July 2nd, can rake up these tremendously deep collective themes to do fundamentally with what is the overall purpose of life, what is good, what does humanity need, can we even help it? There is a very underlying theme of helplessness. Honestly, this new moon can be quite depressing in many respects, especially when we honor and acknowledge what the function of retrograde is. A retrograde planet brings more attention to itself. So Saturn and Neptune are calling attention to themselves, stationing. And retrograde is a revelation. It's revolutionary. It's a turning over, a breaking of the rules, so to honor the function of that planet on a deeper level. So Saturn is the planet of standards, what's societally acceptable, tradition. Stationing retrograde goes in the exact opposite vein. Those born with Saturn retrograde in their natal charts, for example, roughly 1/3 of all people are rather anti-tradition, anti-authority. So Saturn stationing retrograde is letting us this structure is not working, especially Balsamic conjunction to Neptune. It's like, this is not working. We have to make some structural changes. We may have to go against the grain. We may have to change structures and hierarchies of power. Who are we looking up to? Who are our role models? We all need role models. We do. Every single person. You can go into the Himalayas and meet the Shiva devotees meditating alone in a cave, and all they're going to talk about is their guru. Despite being alone in a cave, everybody needs support. Everybody needs teachers. And there's a tremendous amount of confusion, uncertainty, helplessness. Collectively, are they really who they said they were? Is this really what we have been telling ourselves? It is. Pisces wants us to get into deeper, essential humanity. What is true goodness? What is true charity? And I'll also speak in this video very much about the creative signature. This time period, 2024 into 2025 into 2026, is going to really transform our creatives. The relationship between the individual and the whole and the collective is changing. And we're going to see that reflected in social media, as that's certainly the technology that gives us the reflection in terms of what's going on. Now, this also brings up themes of deception. Neptune stationing retrograde tomorrow, despite what all of those talking about it, who may know nothing about real astrology and never bothered to get a real education, I'll let you know what Neptune retrograde always is. Neptune is somewhat the fog machine of idealism, dreams, goals, hopes. When Neptune stations retrograde, the fog machine turns off. So let's understand the deeper nature of this Saturn-Neptune stationing in a balsamic phase conjunction. That means Saturn throughout the year, the rest of 2024 through 2025, Neptune is closing into a conjunction with Neptune, but doesn't get quite there until the beginning of 2026, where Saturn and Neptune will begin their new cycle at the first degrees of Aries on the Aries point. Folks, this is the very deep astrology. This can bring us back into a huge, tremendous digestion and processing of even the last decade, going back to 2012. And this is, again, going to really highlight and very much be affecting our creators, our dreamers, our innovators, as well as our saints, as well as our true lovers, poets, and romantics. This Saturn-Neptune in balsamic conjunction is saying something is ending. But it's not ending right now. We have to go through this whole process. Much of what I'll share in this video will actually introduce the year of 2025. Where Saturn and Neptune will be conjunction, but not quite yet beginning their new cycle throughout all of 2025. So Pisces, Neptune, has so much to do with alignment with the whole, what fills us up, what gives us a deeper sense of purpose. And Pisces is also where we most easily become deceived. We deceive ourselves and we deceive others, most especially when it comes to spirituality or when it comes to romance, or these high ideals of what it's supposed to be that we can't ever quite seem to get a grasp on because it's never totally true or totally real. And that's what Saturn-Neptune stationing retrograde the first week of July is going to be lifting the skirt of. So it's going to beg us to ask questions of whether this is true love, or is this kind of a superficial type of love? Are we really getting into making our dreams a reality? Or is that merely an appearance, in which case this could be more of an escaping reality as opposed to an acceptance of what it is? All of this Pisces-Neptune theme also has so much to do with boundaries. It's like we don't know what the boundaries are. This balsamic conjunction is about dissolving of these boundaries. So where do I end and they begin? And what are we holding together? And what inspires us to go on in the face of a very depressing reflection we're getting back from the world? The world is letting us know, screaming right now, we're lost. We need help. We're confused. We're selling out to the Antichrist and still crucifying Jesus Christ. That's the day and age in which we live. So I'm going to speak to the archetype of Pisces, Neptune, 12th house, because there are specific souls who have been spiritualizing for lifetimes, and these are oftentimes the same people who unfortunately blame themselves for everything or take on so much more because they are big-hearted people. But the shadow of Pisces is deception, it's boundarylessness, in which case we can be like a mop soaking up all of these nasty things that aren't necessarily true for us to begin with, but also may not even be good or useful to do that. Like we're not even necessarily helping others out just by being used, let alone ourselves. So there are high Pisces souls. There's naturally creative souls. These are our dreamers, our drifters. They are oftentimes not taken as seriously as our worldly, business-minded folks. Yet oftentimes these are the most inspired beings themselves. The shadow of Pisces can be this priestly soul. They are those at least part Mr. Rogers. Despite being invisible human beings to other humans, they also seem to have a signpost written on their head that says, "Use me for free." It gives me a spiritual erection. For some reason, some souls just cannot shake their priestly garb, no matter what they attempt to shape-shift into. Whatever percentage of them isn't Mr. Rogers-esque will be despised, and others will let them know, we need you as our priest. We need you to be bright always. We need to use your solace as comfort. We need you to be our stick of butter shaped like a lamb. We need you to sacrifice for a good day, a good relationship, a plentiful harvest. We need you to give back everything and take nothing back and like it that way. As you've done before, we need you to give it all up and give it away once again. You're a pro, you're spiritual, you're being volunteered. You know you like it. This is the pressure of the world. This lost world will inject evil, pressure, and distortion to the brightest souls. We are crawling out of the collective dark period where truth was inverted on its head and the brightest, most truthful souls were targeted. In this day and age, we are just 5 seconds after that period. We may not be getting burnt at the stake, but we certainly have the memories of the last time around that we were. And that's when we can easily internalize the notion that we deserve this torture, or we deserve this lost, helpless world, and I must have done something to receive this experience as a punishment. No, that is what is being raked out of the collective to purge that shit out, to release it, to let it go. We cannot allow the most bright and spiritually in integrity people to continue to be crucified the way Jesus Christ was. So here's the point. Pisces wants to get to this ultimate fulfillment. Every single individual will find that in their own unique way. Why? Because every human is, at their core, an artist. What is that instrument you were made to uniquely play? What is that purpose or meaning that gives you a sense of connection to something bigger than just yourself? How are you being inspired? How is your inspiration affecting and influencing others? And it's the time to pull out of the dark ages. The best souls sacrificing, the best souls getting bled out, the best souls getting used and manipulated, and then taking all of that on, becoming their own scapegoat, blaming themselves for everything. What we're seeing here is a collective confusion. The priestly soul unconsciously assumes responsibility for everything, yet is not control of the world's vicious fate. So we assume that we are a god and a devil at once. A devil for wherever the others need a scapegoat, and a god for whatever others need to cling onto. Is that true love? Is that why priests become priests? To be used? Or is there something that they're passionate about sharing from their heart? I'll read from the great poet Khalil Gibran. And this is going to be very relevant to this Cancer new moon where we get to pull back in, retreat, and honor, okay, let's not settle for anything less. And if we need to return to ourself, to return to the romance between soul and God, that's truly the healthiest place that we can be. Where else are we going to end up selling out? Where else are we going to receive these immature worldly pressures in an immature lost world? We need authentic spiritual connection. Creative souls may not even believe in God. It's irrelevant. They need authentic creative connection. Do not love half lovers. Do not entertain half friends. Do not indulge in works of the half talented. Do not live a life, half a life, and do not die half a death. If you choose silence, then be silent. If you speak, do so until you are finished. Do not silence yourself to say something, and do not speak to be silent. If you accept, then express it bluntly. Do not mask it. If you refuse, then be clear about it. For an ambiguous refusal is but a weak acceptance. Do not accept half a solution. Do not believe in half truths. Do not dream half a dream. Do not fantasize about half hopes. Half a drink will not quench your thirst. Half a meal will not satiate your hunger. Half the way will get you nowhere. Half an idea bears no results. Your other half is not the one you love. It is you in another time, yet in the same space. It is you when you are not. Half a life is a life you didn't live, a word you have not said. A smile you postponed, a love you have not had, a friendship you did not know. To reach and not arrive, work and not work, attend and only be absent. What makes you a stranger to them closest to you, and they strangers to you? The half is a mere moment of inability, but you are able, for you are not half a being. You are whole that exists to live a life, not half a life. One of the most common things said by truly inspired artists, creators, free thinkers, is that they need to have the creative freedom to continue to be themselves, to explore, discover, and share in their own unique way. And oftentimes the real true blue artists, just like the zodiac sign of Pisces, which they are almost always having in some way or another, artists can be phasal. It's like how Picasso had a blue phase and everything that he painted was blue. The most murdering thing for a real artist is the fake pretend supporter who shows up to them and says, I liked you for who you were before. Remember how you were when you got famous? Well, just stick to that. Just stick to that. That is the voice of the world. That is the voice of the devil. That is what keeps our human species constantly imprisoned. Yeah, you could be brilliant, but, why don't you dumb it down for bigger numbers? Yes, you could create really profound works of art, but is the collective really interested in creativity, or are they more interested in the algorithmic clickbait that the world in 2024 is letting us all know is now running the collective mind? You may have noticed the trend of YouTubers getting off YouTube. My numbers are one of many who are being affected this year. That's a part of the Saturn and Pisces. YouTube is meant to be for solo creative content producers, but there's a massive loss of YouTubers and numbers due to this algorithmic pressure that says conform. Don't be different, don't be unique, don't be creative, and so we sell our souls. This is much more serious than just a temporary transit. And are you going to have a good week or a bad week? The astrology that I'm speaking to now, which again will take us through the next year, is bringing up lifetimes of core spiritual evolution. We can waste this whole lifetime, never even touching what it is that we meant to do, the reason we took this birth in the very first place. We will find what that is by the measure of our own fulfillment. No more half-truths, no more half-lovers, no more half-friends. All that is deception, escapism, and avoidance, which I am letting you all know runs the world. It's not just my numbers going down, it's everyone's numbers. Creatives, astrologers, healers, YouTube's suffering a massive hit this year. Meanwhile, I've had students that may show up for half of an astrology lesson. They feel that's enough to go out into the world and start their own YouTube channel and compete with me and call themselves a professional. There's no real astrologer that won't give credit to where they've learned the real astrology. There is lineages, there are wisdom schools from all cultures and traditions going back to ancient times. Only the most narcissistic people in the world can even pretend that they are self-made astrologers. There is no such thing. That's a red flag and something to watch out for. At the same time, the real true blue astrologers are out there. I'll be putting more information out in the months to come, but check out the video description if you are interested. In October, we will have evolutionary astrologer workshop, online retreat. These are, in my opinion, some of the best astrologers that exist out there. And there's going to be a very small audience coming to this retreat in October. I hope that you check it out. Check out some of these other astrologers and their incredibly useful and profound work. All right, so we talked about the profound, deep stuff. I'm going to roll it back to the temporary, what's going on these weeks before I wind up, because boy, it's a hot day. 1st of July. Okay, so weekend of Saturday the 6th and the 7th, Venus is going to go into a square with Chiron and then go opposite to Pluto the second week of July. Meanwhile, this first approaching weekend of July, Saturn stationed is going to be opposite to asteroid Juno. So this really brings up relationship stuff, which has already been the theme of this year at the South Node's transit of Libra. But we're really having to look at this ideal versus fantasy, and are we taking care of ourselves? Are we coming together in a way where both are being mutually heard and being mutually supported? This extends beyond intimate romantic relationships, our collaborative partnerships, our work associates. How are we earning money? How are we honoring the essence of what brought us together in the first place? Or do we need to make changes? This is a time period where such changes can occur, including even our sense of direction or sense of taste. It's like this thing is losing flavor. Balsamic conjunctions are like that. It's like as we're processing all of these past lives, it's like, no, wait, that's what I already did before. Oh, wait, I already was the priest. Oh, wait, I already was the artist and all of these things. And now we want to evolve it into, well, why didn't that work out so well in the last time? You know, where was their needless sacrifice? Where was their delusion or misappraisal or projection? Anyone who's spiritually minded, working on themselves, wanting to improve, this is going to be a time period that brings us into some of the deeper undercurrents of where we sold ourselves short, where we've sold out to the world. Look at the world and its music tastes these days, right? It's like we've got Taylor Swift and that's it. That is a symptom of where our collective is at this point in time. Do you think that humanity's lost its creativity? No, the creative souls are just not being heard. They're not being seen. The algorithm of not just the internet, but the society we're born into is a huge obstacle to overcome. This is an obstacle to overcome where we'll see our creatives, charitable, spiritual, saint-like souls will go through a significant evolution these next couple of years. And I'm guessing going to come out with new directions, new passions, ambitions, and leadership skills. Okay? So to summarize and wrap up here, tomorrow, July 2nd, the sun is at the bends. That means we are exactly in between eclipse seasons. The last solar eclipse at the start of April was exactly conjoined the Centaur planet Chiron, making this whole 6-month period, northern hemisphere spring to fall. The first 3 months, April, May, June, has been this intense healing crises. Unexpected shocks, trials, tribulations, the loss of motivation, the gut punch-like experience again and again and again as we're forced back up on our horse. We can see some significant turnarounds taking place these last 3 months where if we've been in a healing crisis, we may start to see the results of our struggle. What are those future medicines? What are those future alignments? What are even those spiritual alignments, dreams and goals that allows us peace, sanity, protection, again, being fulfilled and inspired by that which is greater than just ourselves? What is that? How can we at least set course in that direction? And if we're in a phase more so of letting it all go, that is absolute necessity to birthing the next cycle. Sometimes we have no idea where life is carrying us. That's where Pisces becomes a lazy man's river. How much do you trust? What or who do you trust? Who's ultimately got your back at the end of the day? Which is why Pisces leads us back to ultimate reality. We must discern what is real from what is unreal. This is the truth of what spiritual evolution is. As we get closer to the truth, we become more of it. We become more of a reflection of it. We become more embodied in it. Do not get lost by the gravity, the oceanic tidal waves of the world that will lead you into sleepwalking, that will lead you back into forgetting. This life is a completion of so many lifetimes where we've already been victims. We've already sold ourselves short. We thought we knew what love was in the past, and that led us into some great, great learning lessons. What is love? How is love evolving for us and our relationship to it evolving, as that will set the course into the future. And we can have some profoundly fulfilling, inspiring remembering as we allow everything that is useless and outdated and outgrown to simply let it go. Again, I'll meet for my next Q&A Sunday the 14th. You can talk about what the heck's going on in your life. I will pull up your chart, speak to the deeper astrological undercurrents, and the Q&A also functions as a support group. So because, again, we've got the new moon in Cancer, emotional intelligence, for those of you who are going through some tough times, check out the Q&A. It's $24 to join the Q&A. The astrology school is $36 a month. I am making these valuable resources affordable because I would like to see more real in-depth astrology in circulation out there in the world. So thank you for your support. Thank you for hearing me out. And I am wishing absolutely the best for you and your beloveds. As always, please do take care.